On SmackDown, we have had brief interactions between Chelsea Green and Blake Monroe, and honestly, this got me thinking, what if Chelsea Green stopped trying to help Tiffany Stratton so much because Stratton is rejecting it every moment, and instead, she started to help Blake Monroe? Because I feel like that may lead to an interesting story down the line. So in today's video, I'm going to go through what I think would happen as a kind of, in a way, a fantasy booking type video. Going through how I think a storyline with Blake Monroe could turn Chelsea Green into one of the biggest babyfaces in WWE as a whole. So for the first couple of weeks, you have Chelsea Green kind of accepting the fact that Tiffany Stratton does not want her help eventually. But you notice that kind of Blake Monroe is in the background, listening to what Chelsea's saying. You know how WWE do them with people in the background, you got to really keep a close eye on stuff or else you'll miss it kind of thing. And then eventually over time, you know, Blake Monroe says to Chelsea, I'll take your help. If Tiffany's not going to have your vast knowledge of experience, I will do it instead. Kind of in a way similar to what she did with Toni Storm, but like instead of it being from a fan's point of view, it's from like, you can see it's a kind of heel tactical kind of point of view, if that makes sense. So then, yeah, you have Chelsea constantly supporting and helping Blake Monroe. She's winning a ton of matches. She's assisting Blake in kind of like picking up wins and in a heel way that kind of still fits Chelsea and Blake being a heel team. But they never tag together. They're never a tag team. A bit like how Julia Hart and Kiana James were at first. Julia as a whole, just Julia. And Kiana were at first before they started tagging, where it was just backup stuff and manager stuff that Chelsea's doing for Blake. Yeah, this eventually leads to Blake feuding with Tiffany Stratton over the Women's United States Championship, a belt that Chelsea has held twice. So she knows a lot about it. She tried to use the experience of being United States Champion to help Blake. This leads to, of course, Blake Monroe capturing the United States Championship from Tiffany Stratton. And yeah, Chelsea Green is proper, like, shoving it in the face of Tiffany Stratton. She could have had her help, but she didn't. She rejected her, and now she's got somebody else to the championship and all this kind of stuff. And you have this great moment, a great genuine moment between Blake Monroe and Chelsea Green, how they've helped each other. Now, you'd probably expect at this point Chelsea to turn on Blake Monroe and attack her to go for the championship herself. That isn't how I'd do it. I would have Blake Monroe turn even more heel, like we've seen in the past with Dom and Liv. You trigger the betrayal on Chelsea Green, and yeah, you get this sudden feud between Chelsea Green and Blake Monroe, which we would have got anyway, but with Blake turning on Chelsea. Because Chelsea is a very popular superstar as it is. Like, I would argue she's probably one of the most popular on the roster. If you were to go around and ask people, I know she doesn't get the best reactions, but then she hasn't been on TV like properly in quite a long time at this point. But she has had injuries and surgeries and stuff around it, so I get it. Also, I'm recording this like 2 weeks ahead of time, so maybe she's had a match since then, and I like a bit of a pleb here, but I'm just letting you know I am recording this a little bit earlier. But yeah, you get Chelsea Green where she's positioned as a top babyface just on SmackDown. And yeah, they have a cool and good feud over the United States Championship. The audience get behind Chelsea, and yeah, like I said, they have this really cool feud where you have both of their personalities really showing off here, rather than having... Maybe not, they don't have brawls all the time. They're all promo based because their characters are so well versed that I feel like just promos alone will be able to build this feud. And then yeah, this over time builds up the emotional investment in Chelsea Green. Hopefully to the point where it gets to the Kofi Kingston 2019, Daniel Bryan 2014 kind of response. But this time it's kind of Chelsea getting her big moment. But the more interesting part is I wouldn't have Chelsea win this feud. I would have Blake Monroe win maybe 2 or 3 matches to 0. Chelsea just cannot seem to beat Blake Monroe. But what this does is it builds momentum and investment in Chelsea Green. She keeps getting these heartbreaking losses, which gets more people on side with her wanting to see her succeed. This goes on for a few months, and we eventually get to either 1 or 2 periods in the schedule, in the calendar, if you will. We either get close to the Royal Rumble, and it goes towards Chelsea having some very big momentum going into the Royal Rumble, or, and probably the more likely of the scenarios, she has a ton of momentum going into Money in the Bank. Now, I know it's not like, I know it's one of these things, Chelsea winning Money in the Bank, it's what we say every year. Well, then, why not build a story around it? That's what I'm saying. But imagine the reaction of Chelsea Green as a top-level babyface, won Money in the Bank, just having the prospect of her winning a women's championship. Like, people would absolutely love it. I think she'd probably get one of the biggest pops of the year as far as moments go. But that is how you would naturally and eventually... Sorry, completely read my notes wrong there. That is how you would naturally elevate Green from a comedy mid-carder to a top-level main event babyface. Yeah, so honestly, I think this will get Chelsea Green over a lot better and more naturally than the stuff she's been doing on TV lately with trying to help Tiffany Stratton, or I know she's recently had to transition away from having Alba Fire and Piper Niven by her side. It's the Secret Hervis. Plus, in AEW, we saw Blake Monroe as, like, do her more character-based stuff with Toni Storm, and it was a fantastic storyline. I would argue that it is iconic enough where it's probably one of the greatest women's feuds of all time in all of wrestling. You know, you wouldn't copy it straight, like, back-to-back from Toni Storm, but there would be minor details and elements of it that would be similar to the Toni Storm storyline. And yeah, at the end of the day, it levels up the stocks of both Chelsea and Blake Monroe, as they both will probably, hopefully at some point, especially Blake Monroe, will probably end up as one of the main women in the company at some point. And yeah, I feel like if you put them on TV constantly, you have them feud together all the time, even having them like wrestle often, eventually they'll end up going further and further up the card, and then eventually you could revisit this in the future where they're fighting for a women's championship instead of the United States Championship. But, you know, let me know what you think. I'm interested to see what you guys think about this idea. I feel like, I'm biased, but I feel like this would be a great idea to do. Gives Chelsea something to do, gives Blake Monroe a really good and solid story to have on the main roster. Because we saw in NXT that she's good. We've seen on AEW that she's absolutely fantastic. So the main people in WWE who don't watch NXT and refuse to watch AEW need to see that part of Blake Monroe as well. I feel like this would be a great and effective way to do that, as well as creating a top babyface in Chelsea Green. So yeah, as I said, do let me know what you think, or if there's any other ways you would change this that would help as well. I don't know. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Do subscribe. There's a lot of good content coming up very soon. I hope you all we do have the TWR Cup coming back, the second one I'm going to do now, and it is all about hardcore matches. I've picked 32 of the best hardcore matches from AEW and WWE, and yeah, I'm going to put them through a tournament to see which one is the best overall. So you've got that to look forward to within the next week, and yeah, so do subscribe for that so then you know when it's going to come on the feeds. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.